No, I think that what you're saying is right on. I mean, there's no question. We all, by the way, we all have that. I mean, there was many, many times. I mean, I had to overcome so many limiting beliefs early on. I mean, as a young Mexican kid, and by the way, I'm a little height, challenged as well. So I always thought about myself as a short, uneducated Mexican little kid. That was my thinking at the age of 21 going into business. I was a bad boy. I got in a lot of trouble growing up. Too much drinking, too much smoking, too much fighting, all the shit you're telling your kids not to do. I did it, all of it. And I just feel like when I started in business, man, I was like, oh my God, they're paying me what?
Hmm.
Couple of years later, I'm making all this money. I got all this passive income. I'm, breaking records. I'm doing all this stuff, and I'm going, there's just no way. And then I looked at my stepfather, which loved my stepfather to death, but he's got a master's degree, student of the year, USC,
Hmm.
and I'm thinking, oh shit, I'm making this amount of money, and he's making. I mean, he still was making good money, but he was making many times over what he was making. So talk about imposter syndrome, right? Going, oh my God, how could this be? And thank God I overcame that, because I think it would have torched my future if I wouldn't have figured that out early on. And I think that what really changed my life is when I decided that I was going to go master my craft. And I was so what happened is I got so good at the business, like you were saying, you got to really work hard. You got to really get in there and do your shit, because they might hire you as a dummy, but you're not gonna stay as a dummy. You know what I mean? And that was my thinking. And once I got good at this thing, man, it felt so good to just continue on and grow. And I want to know your thoughts on what's going on with the strike, man. I mean, what's happening? What's the strike about? So everybody can kind of figure it out. What's right about it, what's wrong about it, what's your thoughts about when it's going to end? What's going on?
Well, when it's going to end, I wish I knew it. I hopefully in the next couple of weeks we're going to get to a better place. I mean, the strike is about a lot of things. It's not only about AI, which is a real thing, and I feel like a lot of people think AI is only with actors and like in the entertainment business, but it is absolutely coming for everybody's job. Okay, so just know that. So regulations on that absolutely need to be. And I think with actors, it's a lot of it's a lot. It's not only it's the pay gap. Okay, so like I said, the new media, which is no longer new media, the streaming is no longer a new media. It's been around. So the I'm on the front lines of the negotiations with that kind of stuff, and it's mind-boggling to be able to do these deals with Netflix and all these other streamers. I won't
Mm-hmm.
single out Netflix. I mean all the other streamers like Apple and all those people. Like to do these type of deals for these actors, it blows my mind and it pisses me off that they get away with highway robbery on these actors. As far as there's no residuals. It's a one-off. It's like, okay, you do this, there's not we don't even know how good the show is doing, and we only can predict how good the show is doing because they're on the third season. Nobody's picking up a shitty show. And all kinds of stuff. There's so much. Even during the pandemic, we actors weren't going into casting rooms because they had to do Zoom, just like with the rest of the world, right? We had to, Zoom and all that. So they had to put themselves on tape, which costs money. They had to, get equipment and all that. And then they would send the tape off, and then, they would do like maybe, working actors, they would do 4 or 5 of them a week. They would have to find somebody to read with. I mean, there's so much process to go into just doing an audition. I represent high profile actors, so they don't necessarily jump through hoops like that. But there's a lot of other actors that do, that have to do this and that have to. There's a lot of money involved, and so there's a lot of things, and don't even get me started on all the extras and how they're doing with AI and all that. There's just a lot. And
Oh wow! So that means they're really it's all computer graphics. They're putting in extras in the background as computer graphics. So the extra business is going away. Is that kind of what you're saying?
I mean, yes, yes. AI
Wow.
is not on all, like, I think it's not like evil, it is what it is. We all have to kind of get with the program, right? But there has to be regulations on it. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm completely educated on all of it, because I'm absolutely not. There's so much more to learn. But what I do know is that there's so much more to the strike than what people kind of hear. There's a lot of underbelly stuff that is like, it's just not, because we're negotiating these deals. I mean, we have people from 90210 still making residual money.
Wow.
Which is
Wow.
some of them keeping them afloat. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You're doing a show on a streamer and you're not making, it's a one-off. And these shows are getting, I mean, you're in like Dublin, and you're in all around the world, and you're like, there's my show. And then you're like, okay, well, it got sold to other countries and I make zip. That's not okay. It's
That's
just
not okay.
so.
That's not cool. Yeah, I mean, it's a new world though, Gladys. I mean, this is truly a new world of doing business and making money. So now, but you know the financials in this business probably better than anybody. And so, I mean, is it just total greed, or is there, like for example, okay, you make a net, because I mean the one thing about studios, on if I was to play devil's advocate, and again you educate me because you know better than I do, but as a devil's advocate, you say, okay, well, these guys, they're making so many shows now. It's like the human being is needing more content. Like again, 20, 30 years ago, we had a couple of channels and that was it. And it's like, if you didn't like channel 5, you turn it on channel 11 or 13 or 2 or 4 or something like that. Now it's like there's so much freaking content. It's unbelievable. So is it a part of like, okay, well, we're making so much content, we can't pay residuals, because if we paid residuals, we wouldn't make enough money and we would go out of business and we would be bankrupt. So what do you say to that?
No.
No, that's not true.
Money, absolutely not.
They make enough money.
No,
Okay.
no. Mm-mm.
So a budget for, like, say, Stranger Things or something like that. I mean, on Netflix. I mean, Netflix has enough money to take care of that show and to continue to pay residuals for these guys.
They sell it to other countries. Like when they sell it, and I mean, there was a show recently. A client was on a Canadian show. It's a series, and I wasn't a part of that deal early on, but it's a Canadian project, and then that Canadian company sold it to a network here. Now it's airing here, and she literally is driving down the street and there's billboards of her face, and she gets zero. Not okay.
Not okay.
Like, well, it's nice, the visibility. I'm on like another network show, but it's like, because it's the same, she's already been paid for that. But it's just moving forward. We're all learning as far as negotiation and new media. It's still growing. AI won't be where it is now. It won't be there 2 years from now, 3 years from now. It's gonna it's gonna advance.
It's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah.
And it's but that's why a lot of people like say, that is, and again, I'm not pretending to act like I know everything about AI, which I'm still learning. And sometimes I go, wow, that's pretty cool. That's like amazing. But there has to be regulations, because I think it's coming for a lot of people's jobs that don't realize it. Customer service, all that, like a lot, they're not going to need human beings anymore.
Well, I've been studying AI for as long as I could remember it when it first started, and so I think I got a real good understanding on this technology. And number one, it ain't going away. You're right.
Right.
Number two, it's only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think the scariest part of it, because I love AI, I think ChatGPT is amazing,
Yeah.
But if you're a writer,
Oh,
you're toast. You know, if you're a writer, you're toast. I mean, this is like,
yeah.
this is, I mean, if you're a writer of shows, I mean, literally ChatGPT could just write a show for you, and you could just give it a couple of basic pieces of information. They could write an entire show for you.
Yeah. I mean,
Just like that.
I think, yes, you're right.
Yeah.
With writers, it's a scary thing as well. It's like they write something, and then so what they can do is have AI write the script, like
That's
what
it.
you want, and then they'll hire a high profile, writer to punch it up and to give more human, feeling to it. Pay them like
A
nothing.
little bit of money.
Yeah.
Right.
If you like this video and you would like to watch another clip, click right here. If you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.